This is the first annual BS list.
Tonight on That Car Show, it's a cruise show with Lindsay, Michael, and me hanging out for way too long while Danny P's down in Arizona for Scottsdale Car Week. We talk about some of the surprising prices achieved at the recent Mecum auction in Kissimmee, Florida, like almost $18 million for an Enzo. Me come, you come, we all come. Also, after the great time we had talking with Hagerty's John Wiley last week, it's the debut of our very own That Car Show bullshit market list, the cars that we think are going to only go up this year. Also, the absolute worst cars we've ever driven. And here's your trigger warning now, BMW people. All that and a lot of laughs. It's That Car Show. Hey, it's That Car Show. I'm here tonight with Lindsay and our pal Michael, who's sitting in for Danny P, who's down at Scottsdale Car Week, I think is what they're calling it, along with our pal Jorge Aquino from Tormenting Tarmac and most of the rest of Instagram, apparently. But it's good to see you guys. How you both doing?
Great to see you both. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm excited to record tonight.
Absolutely. And in the internet will tell us what goes on at Car Week, so we don't, Car Week, so we don't even have to be there and pay the exorbitant fees and, still get to enjoy it.
I'm excited to hear what Dan thinks. I know.
Yeah. I just couldn't make it happen. You can't do everything, right?
It's overwhelming only because unlike, we talked about it when we all went to Monterey, it's kind of contained, right? Everybody kind of descends on, Pebble or whatever, and then they do those kind of satellite car shows. But Westworld, where they hold Barrett Jackson, is literally tens of acres, and then that's separate from where RM holds their stuff. I forget who's at the build. Like, none of it's geographically close. I mean, it is relatively, but you're traveling. You're moving between these places, and so it's not like you can kind of just show up in one spot and Uber to another, et cetera. You're moving around in a larger geographic area, and I mean, to dovetail into it, that's coming off of 2 weeks of Mecum being at Kissimmee and doing literally 2 weeks worth of cars, and what they claim to be is the largest amount ever sold at a continuous auction.
Well,
Brian,
what was
that
those
number?
Numbers?
Yeah, what was that number?
So,
I apologize for looking at my phone, but what did I send you guys?
No. And I know we dumped on Mecum a little bit in their sausage casing shirts last week, but we like Mecum, and they delivered this year in Kissimmee. So there's a white 250 GTO. That's a very special car.
They advertised for over a year. They've been showing promos of that car for 12 months. So what was
Well, and that car was making the rounds of events. It was at one of the Avance events up here because it was a car based in the Pacific Northwest.
You were there with us at Car Week, right, at Mecum, when it was out in the middle of a field, right, in like a glass box or something. But that actually went for $38,500,000,
which I thought it'd be more.
Yeah, it's a storied history.
It's that we're like,
it's got a good. I don't know the history, but it has racing pedigree.
Yeah, one of the few white cars, or maybe the only white car.
It's the only factory white one.
Okay, yeah,
but can you imagine like the world that we're in, where we're like, a car went for $38.5 million, and we're saying like, gee, that's all.
And I was going to say, Mecum is not the place, but.
Well, they do, Mecum's done a really great job of bringing in, I mean, they tried to do Jerry's 917 last year, and that was really just an advertisement for, it sold, but it sold afterwards, and I think the high bid there was 24 and change. So they did $441 million in overall sales. January the 17th, so a few days ago, they had the highest single day auction in automotive auction history of $259 million in one day.
You
had the Bachmann Ferrari collection, which was a yellow Enzo, a red F50, a yellow Aperta, and a 288 GTO, a red 288, sell for 125 collectively. I loved that lightweight GT40. That would have been my choice. That I think that brought 13.
Okay. Let's go back to that Enzo for a minute, though, Michael. Like, what made that Enzo worth that number? Because that's that's got to be
the
the new.
125 is for all 4 cars. So you had an
No,
Enzo.
but the Enzo went for what, 17 million?
I don't have that.
I got
in
it
front
right
of me,
here. 17.875 million. It's yellow. It's got only 649 miles. But what do Enzos usually go for? Nowhere near that, right?
Enzos are high.
I mean,
high
not
7
cheap.
digits. High
Okay,
7 digits,
yeah.
9, 10.
But this is twice that.
I mean, it's just, to Mecum's credit and that organization's credit, they do well.
Yeah. Well, proof's in the pudding, I guess.
There was a conversation with Dana, was it last year or the year before at Monterey, and I'm probably spilling the beans a bit, but they actually are doing better on the financing of these cars versus, they do obviously a very good job of selling them, but the financing has been another revenue generator, and that's why that's a whole other level of this ecosystem that we're seeing going on. Because you don't get that at Bring a Trailer. You got to bring your own financing. You don't get that at Cars and Bids.
Right.
When you can walk into a Barrett Jackson, you can walk into an RM, you can walk into a Mecum and buy the car and finance it all at once. I mean, are we separating the have and have-nots?
They're starting to do what car dealerships have always done. I mean, they always say that that's where they make their money too, is in the financing, extending the loans.
There's no cross shopping though when you're sitting there with a man in a sausage casing shirt, trying to sign on the dotted line and get out of Florida, right? I mean, you're kind of signing where they tell you to sign, and so captive audience, I guess. But you know what?
Emotion.
Good on them.
Even better.
If you want it, you want it. Yeah, and so I guess the larger question is, and then we can do a post-mortem after Barrett, but what does that portend for the greater market? Because that there is a trickle-down effect, and we're gonna. I know we're going to talk about a little teaser for the audience, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about the Hagerty bull market and the cars that are represented there, but that does have a trickle-down effect to cars that are enthusiast cars, or cars that maybe we lust after for various reasons. And if prices are elevated because someone's financing it or someone's willing to pay an extra amount at an auction, what does that mean for the rest of us? Because that's why I feel like these first couple months of the year kind of set the tone, barring a major economic disaster, which I'm not rooting for. Like, it sets the tone for the rest of the year for the rest of us that want to do things.
Stocks are down, 401ks are down, cars are up apparently. Go ahead, Lindsay. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I like that he's saying the rest of us, like, we could have been in the market for the Enzo were it not for Mecum extending financing to those in the room.
Well, by the way, we can show up and ask for it. They can tell us no, but we can at least go and apply.
What is it? Dress for the job you want? Like, ask Mecum for the loan.
Dress for the job you want.
Well, they're dressing for the job they want. It's obvious, So, some sad news though out of that auction came out in the news. I think yesterday there were 3 guys from Ohio, just regular, guys that had gone down for the auction, had rented an Airbnb. I think it was they had a rental car they had some trouble with. They were standing out in front of their Airbnb with this car, waiting for a new rental car or something, and there's this crazy next door neighbor of the Airbnb that shot and killed all 3 of them. So really a terrible tragedy. And Lindsay, I think as you alluded to, this is a guy that had already been arrested for shooting into cars or something.
He was arrested on attempted murder 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm not sure how he was out, but of course, I mean, you never want to see that ever, but I think it hits home for the car community in this instance, because it could have been any of us attending the event. And obviously, our hearts go out to these guys and their families, and
absolutely.
We got to keep our wits about us.
Of course, had nothing to do with Mecum other than the guys were there, but sad just the same. And really, really awful,
keep your wits about you, heads on a swivel.
Absolutely. And, we'll hear from Dan and the rest of Instagram about Scottsdale here by the time we record next week. So I'm very curious because with world events and everything else, what's the consumer confidence level? Or to your point, Michael, does it not matter? Because,
that echelon
pittance to these folks, right? 17 million here and there.
I've been
a
watching
recession-proof group.
Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting group because you bring up a very good point, because I've been watching when did they start really broadcasting Barrett Jackson on like Speed Channel? What was it? 20 years ago, 15 years ago? It was
Sounds
a while
right.
back.
15-ish,
And really,
yeah.
yeah, you saw Friday, I forget if they did Thursday, but you for sure saw Friday and Saturday, right? Well, they've been running live streams on YouTube all, since Monday, or excuse me, since Tuesday. And like just before we started recording, I was catching it for an hour or two. They're selling 6-figure cars on a Wednesday, I mean, by the way, beautiful automobiles. I'm not saying that the product's not good, but for a Wednesday night, right? It's not the biggest, the action hasn't really started. Maybe the big buyers haven't shown up, and they're still selling high 5-figure, low 6-figure cars. And I'm thinking, like, where's this money? This is not all foreign money coming in.
Right.
Like these people are spending real money on what would arguably be a quote unquote off night.
Yep.
And what does that portend? Again, going back to my earlier statement or question, really, like what does that mean for the rest of us as we try to find, build, fix? I mean, we'll talk again, going back to the Hagerty Bullis, like those types of cars that people are bidding up. Fairly, unfairly, we can argue that, but there was multiple 6-figure cars the last 2 hours before we started recording.
Which is crazy. Well, to bring this back to last week's episode when we had our friend John Wiley from Hagerty on talking about the 2026 bull market list. So
you guys did a great job.
Money. Yeah, thanks. That was a fun one. He's great. He really knows his stuff. And, just to recap, the bull market list, these are the cars that Hagerty expects will rise appreciably in value. There were some surprises for sure, most notably that $100,000 Pontiac Aztek. But it got me thinking, because, there's Carrera GT on there, which is, no one's, but there was some much more modest stuff as well. And
it was definitely a thought-provoking list, and it was interesting to kind of hear it from the horse's mouth and have John go through it for us.
Yeah, go back and listen. That was a really good one, or even better yet, watch it on YouTube or on Spotify video, because we've got photos of all the cars he's talking about, and it was just a great conversation. And incidentally, one of our most successful shows to date, when you look at the metrics around who watches or listens to the end. So if you missed it, make sure you go back. I think you're going to like it. And
then tell us which ones you agree and disagree with.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, now obviously he has got algorithms and, research and, all this, whatever behind it, but it got me thinking, if we were to each pick 3, that would sort of qualify for our own bull market list. Where would it bring us? So, I had 3 come to mind right away. I don't know about you guys.
Ladies first. Come on, let's be gentlemen.
Lindsay, what do you
put Lindsay on the spot?
All right. So initially I went, oh my gosh, I don't know. And then, like you said, Ryan, 3 rather quickly jumped into my head. So I had a couple criteria, and the biggest one was cars that are still currently attainable, because I feel like that's in the spirit of the bull market list.
Yep.
Is they haven't quite taken off, but
except for that Carrera GT.
Right, except for the Carrera GT. That was a hilarious, we're just going to put that there and see who's paying attention.
Yeah.
So cars that are still attainable, and the 3 that I chose are right now. There are obviously outliers, and one of them, you really have to look, but they are out there, but they're becoming harder and harder to find, which is why I thought they warranted inclusion on That Car Show 2026 bull market list.
But we got to come up with another name. We can't take maybe the bullshit market list, right?
There you go.
Is what we call it.
That Car Show, the BS list 2026.
Yeah.
This is the first annual BS list.
There's our title.
Your kids' college fund car show.
By the way, I like that I'm in Seattle, but Ryan has the Pike Place mug. Very nice.
Oh, good eye.
Nice little Easter egg for those paying attention.
Yeah. I almost grabbed the steering committee mug, but I don't want to dilute our brand.
Him, so you had to go all the way to Pike's Place to get it, because Lindsay couldn't send you one.
Right. So, and the 3 that I chose are all dailyable, and there are examples of all 3 available for around 25,000. So that was my kind of guidance.
Okay.
So the ones that I like, when I say a car, the example that I am intending is all stock.
Okay.
Not heavily modified, but
so
that
the
was
spirit of John's list, really.
Yeah. Do with it what you will once you acquire it. But I was thinking of stock examples.
Okay.
So the first one is a Honda S2000, and obviously of stock again, but one of the things I like about it is that they are easily modifiable.
Sure.
It's a lot of bang for your buck, and they make good track cars.
Yeah.
They came with 3 different engines, and one of them, the AP1, has a factory red line of 9,000, which is pretty good. And right now you can find a decent example for 19 to 25,000. So
really, still, that's not bad at all. You know,
yeah,
it's
like really,
and it's a
like
Honda.
Yeah.
You know, all that comes along with that, right?
Yeah, and like the people that I know that have had them love them. Like really enjoy them. There was one that used to go to the track with me consistently, and the guy just, you know, drove it hard and really enjoyed it and was thrilled with the performance. So versatile and I think worth considering.
Shout out, if I may, to our friend Evan Lewis, friend of the show, photographer. He's on his, I think, third 991.2 GT3 RS and enjoying it very much, but made a point of going out and finding a really good S2000. And he swears up and down that he enjoys driving that car, you know, in its own way as much as the GT3 RS. So, you know,
that's awesome.
Well,
we have the Evan Lewis stamp of approval on the car number 1 on the BS list. Yeah. So moving right along, a second gen Subaru WRX STI, of course, blue. Again, a lot of bang for the buck. Yeah. They're easily modifiable, but they're really fun. Stock also, definitely dailyable, but you could take it to the track. You could take it in the canyons. Really a lot of the same.
Is that what they call the Hawkeye? Which one is that?
I think this is it's not the bug-eyed one.
Okay, right. Which also has its charms, especially in yellow.
Right.
But yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with blue with gold wheels, right?
No, so good. And I feel like those were just such good cars. And unfortunately, they haven't really gained much power over the years, which makes me really appreciate those early ones even more. They're just inherently good, right?
Yeah.
They didn't overpromise and underdeliver like I feel, you know, some
a
of
lot
the
of
newer
cars
stuff
do.
has.
Yeah. So that's number 2. And number 3 will not be a surprise to anyone.
Wait, start with a P. Wait, hold on. I think it starts with a P.
I'm going to say it starts with an F.
I was going to say Ryan has guessed it.
Okay.
A stock 5th generation Eddie Bauer Ford Bronco.
There
so
we
92
go.
to 96, which was the last year of the classic, like what I consider the classic style. Prices are holding on those. You can find them around 25,000, but a lot of them have a ton of miles on them. I was actually on the way to look at one in California within the last 6 months. It was a gorgeous example, you know, the red Eddie Bauer, and it had low miles, and it was, I want to say it was around 20,000. And of course it sold before I could even go look at it.
Really? Yeah.
Because
have you driven one of those?
Yeah.
So Ryan, the reason I bring it up is that in the 90s they still had a twin beam truck front axle on them.
Okay, right.
And for a live axle, it is incredibly smooth.
Really?
Those trucks, you wouldn't think it. It's this big lumbering thing.
Ask Al Collings what
right.
They don't modify well suspension wise and whatnot, but just as a stock truck, it is shocking how well that big lumbering thing like floats down the road.
Interesting.
It is. They're spectacular as far as just like a get in it, drive to Pikes Peak, drive up to Vail. It's comfortable. It's got power. It's got room. They're incredibly good drives. For what they are. You're not canning ripping in them, but they're just like they're do everything.
I
like all those.
One of the many reasons I love them.
And cars just don't ride like they used to, right? Like those big American cars, whether they're trucks or old Lincolns or whatever, they just had a, Rolls Royce used to say that they would waft or whatever, right? But those cars would waft, right? I mean, there was a waftiness about those cars for sure. So to recap, Lindsay, your 3 bullshit market list cars are
a Honda S2000.
Yep.
A second gen Subaru WRX STI, and a 5th generation Eddie Bauer Ford Bronco.
Good choices all. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited to hear both of yours. So who's
Take
next?
that, John Wiley.
Ryan, you're ready. You're ready. Go.
You sure? Okay. All right.
Yeah, please.
This is the kind of thing I can get into. So I have three, and then I have a couple of alternates as well.
You took a page out of my book where you're like, I did the three, and then I gave myself as many bonuses as I wanted.
This may be a 2-hour show.
This is not high school. They don't offer you extra credit for bringing in more homework.
No.
But
hey, extra credit was what got me graduated.
If you found 5 that you love, I'm here for it. So let's hear it.
All right. Well, how about 3 I love and 2 that are close but no cigar. So I didn't stick to any sort of price cap. Mine are nothing's too crazy, but the first one's the most expensive.
Are all over the map.
no Carrera GTs, but I do have the 2016 Porsche GT4 on here. Now, I'm still seeing these 2016s for 70 to 90,000, right? One of us here owns one.
Yep.
I think I think in a lot of ways the 982 version is a better car. It's a little bit quicker and all this, but they made so far fewer in number of the 2016, right? And as John has told us, rarity factors into it.
Right.
I think most people tell you the 2016 sounds better, and it looks great, right? I think that's subjective. Do you like the 16 or do you like the 20? On or whatever. But the big thing for me, it came down, I think, to just rarity. They're just relatively rare. They made them for 1 year, and at least here in the States, and they're just great cars, and I think they're undervalued. I think they're only going to go up. I think the 718s, the 982s are going to only go up as well, but I think there's more of a gulf for the 16, the 981. That's didn't pick the Spider as well, because as you know, in 16 the Spider and the GT4 weren't quite as close as the later cars with the 982. The Spider of that era is a lovely thing too, but it's missing the edge for a couple of reasons that the GT4 has. So I think you bought well, Lindsay and Tori, and don't ever get rid of that car, because it's only going to go up, and I think they're going to go up a lot. Who are we talking? Wait, was it John or someone else I was talking to the other day about the 991.2 GT3? And especially the touring, but the 991.2 GT3 is a car that will always be worth more than the GT4, but but that's going to continue to go up, and I think that the GT4 is going to close the gap a little bit. I think it's so much of the inherent goodness of the GT3. Buy up all the good ones you can find, and that may be easier to do than my second choice, which at least here in Denver you don't see too much anymore, at least the good ones, and that's the 1987 to 1994 Range Rover. So the big boy. That is the first Range Rover that was brought to the States, and I fell in love with them then. I begged, pleaded with my parents to buy one, to trade in our Chrysler minivan, which will come up later in the show, for one of these. And, years later they would go on and get a Discovery too. But there's something about that first Range Rover, right? That 87 to 94. And I have a soft spot for the later ones. There was a white extended wheelbase one that they came out with. I think it was the County LWB. And to me, that's the one to have. It had this really high-end ADS stereo system, which was cool, with the subwoofer in the back. If you had one of those with the car phone in the middle and a little curly antenna, you were so gangster. And I love those. And you never see them. And I think if you can find a good one, they're still pretty reasonable. And I would own one if I could. So that's number 2 for me. Do either one of you have any experience? Have either one of you owned a classic Range Rover?
So the Range Rover I have.
You have? Okay.
Yeah. The fun thing and the interesting about that, the V8 that they use from like the mid 60s until the late 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
That is a Buick.
That's right.
You ever hear that story?
Yeah.
I'm going to butcher the story, but for our listeners that haven't heard the story, what was it? Like Range Rover was in Britain. Somehow, some way, there was a discarded Buick V8 that GM didn't end up using, basically. And somebody from, I think they went to Detroit. I'm going to butcher it, but you guys, it's all over the internet. Long story short, someone from Land Rover said, "What's that over there?" And it was literally discarded, like in the side of I shit you not.
Perfect.
It was on the side of a. It was like in the corner of the building of the, and they said, oh, that's just a that's a V8 Buick never put into production, and so they took the whole architecture.
That's amazing.
That architecture was from like the mid '60s, and obviously they modified it a little bit, but that architecture ran until what, like early 2000s, late 90s. I believe
so, until it was replaced with the BMW.
It's the same 4.8.
It's incredible.
That was a Buick designed discard from GM, and so I owned one for a bit in Denver. They just get rusty, unfortunately. That's their great downfall. I lust after the two doors. I want to import it. Have you seen the two doors? They never sold here. So they 3 years ago at Pebble, they brought over a collection of the Queen's Land Rovers. And it was stunning. There's all sorts of fun stuff, and there's pictures all over the internet. I definitely
like Pope Mobile-esque and just like
and the royal crest is on the door. It's like they're all beautiful, right? But
well, and all in her color of claret.
Correct. And they're fun. So Ryan, go down that rabbit hole because you're going to see some wonderful stuff. But a two-door, it's like not as big as the long wheelbase, but it's definitely a little bit. It's almost as long as the regular wheelbase. It is such a great. That's a good pick. That's a very good pick.
Yeah, thank you. I have such a thing. I've never owned one. I've kind of, I don't know, segued more into the old G-Wagon kind of camp lately, but I love those. When I see one, they just look so good. And when those came out, you have to take yourself back to that time and remember how special those were. And, it was really the measure of success, or it was something you wanted to own, and unlike anything else. And it just really was a statement piece in a way that I just don't know there is a car that kind of is a statement piece in the same way now, but
and when you think about, like, that was the sort of dawn of the SUV age. SUVs were not everywhere the way that they are now when those came out. And I remember, that became like very much a status symbol in Newport Beach. That was the de rigueur, family car if you had arrived.
Yep. And we've talked about we've talked about when you could go back in time and walk into a showroom, like what the peak year would be. And, I think we talked about Porsche and Mercedes and Ford as well. Well, 1994. So the is penultimate word, the last year of the classic Range Rover. 94, but in 94, you could also get the Defender, right, in the States. At least the two-door, the soft top two-door. And I think it was the Discovery One that came out in 1994. So 1994, to me, peak Land Rover / Range Rover / Defender in the U.S. and done. But all right, I better move along. Otherwise, again, this is going to be a 3-hour show. My final pick is a car that's near and dear to my heart, even if I might not be able to fit in one in 2026. But it is the 2005 to 2011 Lotus Elise. This is a car that they're getting tougher and tougher to find. They really are. This was the car, I think it was Doug DeMuro always joked about. It was always the $32,000 car. Well, those days are gone. These have come up quite a bit. I think a good one is closer to $50,000 or $60,000 more. Someone's going to correct me. But we've talked about this before. It's one of those cars that it's on my bucket list, cars you need to drive before you die. When they were new, my roommate, my buddy Andy, got one. It was a silver over red one. He daily drove it. We took that thing everywhere. The two of us, big guys, stuffed into this little thing. But I have such fond memories. And, well, it might not be so quick in 2026. It's everything else. It's quick enough. It handles like nothing else. It is a go-kart that two grown-ups can fit in. Do either one of you have experience with this car?
I have seen the outside of one, but I haven't driven it yet.
Is that all? Okay, you got to drive one, Lindsay, and you'd fit.
They're fun. They're go-karts, very much in the Colin Chapman, lighter is better. I think we'd be remiss not to give it its due in signifying how it changed the world. And you're both looking at me like, normally I'm crazy, but I'm gonna go crazy. That is the genesis and the basis car for the Tesla Roadster. Right. So if you don't have the Lotus Elise,
that's right.
You don't have Tesla, and you don't have whatever direction the world is going to take going forward. But Tesla's success was built on a Roadster that was imported from England and basically just kind of slightly garage modified. I'm being a little facetious there, but I mean, if they don't have the Lotus Elise, you don't have the Tesla Roadster. I mean, that car probably should be revered more. Maybe that's why the finances, the numbers are coming up, is because that without that car, you don't. I mean, maybe Tesla would have found a different car to base their engineering on, but you don't have Tesla without that car, which I think is kind of a footnote of history.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's funny because I think the Tesla Roadsters are generally worth more than the Lotus Elises these days, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, but also, now they are, but they didn't sell that many. They didn't sell that many Elises by and large because the reliability was not always the most easy to deal with, but
sure.
I think they've managed, the aftermarket's managed to mitigate a lot of that.
It is one of the truly special cars, and the fact that like Hennessy and others have put much more power than 190 horsepower into these things, right? I think is a testament to just what a great design they were. So, all right, the bullshit list continues. Michael, you're gonna have a couple surprises. I know you are.
But wait, Ryan, we didn't hear your two runners up.
Yeah. What are your alternates, real quickly?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe we.
All right. Okay. Talk about a car you never see anymore. The Honda Del Sol SI.
Oh, wow.
It is a car
not true.
That I
Tomorrow,
never see them.
You know what? No, what we're gonna do. I don't mean to interrupt, but around the corner from me is a individual woman, very lovely neighbor of mine, 2 blocks down. She has a pink inside and out Del Sol that she has the abbreviated license plate of Hello Kitty.
Oh.
I'm going to send that to you. I'm going to send those photos to you tomorrow because she street parks it. And then you can use that as the thumbnail for this episode.
There we go. There we go. That really kind of goes with the bullshit.
And she drives it all
list,
the time. Works just fine. She puts the top, takes the target top off. Yep. It's a runner.
I had a friend in college who had not an SI, but they made whatever the lesser LX or something, right? And it was such a neat car because it had this removable roof panel that, if I recall correctly, you could put in the back. It felt kind of exotic or something, right? It had, it just didn't feel like, it felt like a Honda very much so, but it also just felt special. It felt like kind of a throwback kind of car. It was just a neat sort of highly engineered little thing that I don't think, it was competing against cars like the Toyota Paseo at the time. I mean, when was the last time you gave, that a passing thought, right? But the Del Sol was kind of neat. And if you could find an SI, again, tiny little thing, not try to fit in it in 2026, but a really neat car. And then my other one that I went back and forth on about seriously including in the top 3 is the original Jeep Cherokee. I think it's the XJ, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a car that we had a couple in my family, a 2-door, and then later a white one with the burgundy interior, sort of the plaid seats. Both wonderful cars. Remember them driving very differently. One was like an 84, 85, and the later one was like maybe an 88 or an 89. And so different interiors and all that, but never see a good one. Occasionally see one here in Denver, lifted or something. But I like that, especially that first generation before they went to the round or the more rounded headlights and taillights.
Yeah, the square
steering wheel and all that.
Yeah.
I just think those are neat cars. 190 horsepower, straight 6. They felt pretty quick on their feet at the time. Small. By today's standards, really, really tight little things, but wonderful cars. Again, if you couldn't afford a Range Rover back in the day, a Cherokee Limited was kind of a nice second place. Too. Yeah.
Well, so Ryan, I had 2 friends, one in college and one after, who had 2-doors that were manual.
Wow.
Was that what you guys had?
No, both of ours were automatics, but. I spent one of the best summers of my life working in Door County, Wisconsin. One summer, waiting tables and washing dishes in a yacht club of all places. My grandparents had a silver 2-door. I think it was a Cherokee Chief, whatever that meant.
Yeah,
and it had a Blaupunk head unit in it, and I thought I was the king that summer. I loved that thing. Just fantastic.
This is living.
Yeah. So that's my 3 and 3 plus 2.
I think our list is going to be 10 plus a bonus because those are all good choices.
Those are great choices.
This is good, right? I mean, I think the That Car Show bullshit list, I think, has legs. But
I think it does.
All right, what do you have, Michael? I can't wait to hear.
This is going to require a little bit of work on your part. Have either one of you seen a I think it's like an 80. I think they were 88, 87, 88. They only made it for a couple, 2-3 years. The the Volvo 780 Bertone.
Yes, it's chopped.
Well, no,
I mean, it seems chopped, right?
It seems chopped. So Lindsay, it's a 2-door Volvo, right?
Okay.
Designed by Bertone.
Okay.
So it's got a little flavor to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got these really wild kind of two-tone seats. It's not really a 2+2, but they advertise as a 2+2. It was a 5-cylinder Volvo motor. It's the square body, like this kind of 740 style with the long nose, the weird squared up nose.
I'm looking at it now.
But
so good.
But that is a perfect engine swap. We'll go down in another podcast what Paul Newman had for his he swapped out like 2 or 3 different Volvos.
Yes.
I think he lived in like Connecticut, and he would put at the time, this is in the 80s and 90s, like 5-liter Mustang motors in them.
Right.
So
and David Letterman, he told Dave, he's like, "This is what I'm having made. Do you want one?" So Dave has one too.
That's
Yep. So I've always been a fantasy. Take one of those 2-door Bertones, put in like a small block, whatever, with a 5-speed, and it looks good. It's a cruiser. It's got a decent it's very of its era. But you're never gonna see. We've all been to Radwood or whatever. You don't again, lost to the ages of time. So to speak. But that's been. I fantasized about those and searched for those for a lot, and they're super cheap. But they're a full redo. I mean, they're not a cheap. That's an expensive proposition to renovate it, not so much to buy it.
That's it. And when you first said the Bertone, I was thinking about the earlier. I think it was based on the 240. That had a really chopped look with a vinyl. 240, ghastly thing.
That 240 is beautiful. Equally gorgeous.
Oh, see, I think it's
wider.
Hideous. I think it's hideous.
I love it. I have an eBay
now
search for that 240 Bertone. And all it keeps showing me is models, like one of the small model companies. I can't find. Impossible to find.
Okay,
impossible.
I think you could turn that into like a cool lowrider or hot rod, but stock. I thought that thing was ghastly.
Oh no, they're ugly. They're both ugly as shit.
I think the newer one is really, really quite nice, and it kind of was a precursor to. Was it the C70 that came out a few years later? Right, kind of. But the Volvo underrated enthusiast car across the board. But that's a deep cut, Michael.
This is like a behind the scenes, like the making of the BS list. Like there's fighting.
It's also kind of a Rorschach.
Here, we bring up, and that was if I had took issue with anything. I can only speak about a couple cars in the Hagerty list. But what's challenging about? Oh goodness. Which challenging about these
settle down, Michael. Settle down.
Yeah, I know. Which I bang on the table. They tell you in podcasts never bang on the table. What's challenging about these lists is that the Carrera GT notwithstanding, but like I haven't owned one, but I've driven extensively, like the M5, right? Or now that Alpha GTV, those are always great. But I'll tell you flat out, they picked the 454 SS, and this is not me bagging on Hagerty. God bless them. They do their thing. They're excellent at what they do. That's a car you buy. It is rare.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's heavy. I mean, I don't have it. That's not a 454, but it's the same body. Like you're gonna drive that car for 6 months, and then you're gonna get rid of it.
Okay,
right?
Interesting.
So when you look at these cars, and if they to achieve kind of the Grand National GNX status or the career, like how do you make them desirable once you've driven them and other people drive them and say, oh my God, I want that experience too. And I felt like this year it was a little lacking in that regard, because you could buy these cars and they're going up in value and they're cool, but would you keep them? Or if a friend drove them? And much like to what you guys do, especially Ryan, we want to hear about your cars and coffee, but like when you hand the keys to a friend and say, experience this with me, and they're like, oh shit, I need one of these too. How do you further things? And there were a couple cars, and I promise you, a 454 SS, which I've owned and driven, and like they're boring.
They look badass though. They look so good.
But you can make any one of these look badass.
Yeah, I know. It's
for a third of the price. And It's a 454 cubic inch V8 that makes all of 255 horsepower, and it'll get you about 8 gallons to the mile. Like the novelty is going to wear off. If it's 30, 40, 50 grand, you ain't throwing anything in the bed, so you can't even really use it as a truck.
Okay, you know what's a better choice? Maybe the Dodge Dakota convertible could have taken that
one?
slot.
The Shelby convertible?
The Shelby. Were they all Shelbys? I can't remember.
Yes, well, you may be. I forget. You may be right.
The Shelby had that Targa bar or whatever.
Yeah, the Halo bar.
Those
are same problem there. Rusted out, but again, not fast.
Yeah,
like you have this. You ever seen an Omni GLH?
Sure, goes like hell.
Yeah,
goes like hell. I mean, like so these cars are the Grand
Lindsay,
National and the GNX.
Fighting words.
I know. I'm like,
but I mean,
well, I just looked up the Dodge Dakota convertible. I don't think anybody would look at that silhouette and expect a lot of performance. That is a performance art driving that.
But that's where our nostalgia, and that's where there
you go.
Like that's where we're out of an age group that is at the middle of the Venn diagram, right? Because we heard about the '60s performance and got to experience it one way or the other, seeing it or being in the passenger seat. Then we saw the 80s and 90s where they tried to do performance, right? And it was but yet the E36 M3s and all these things that are like going up in value, but they're not really that fast. But then you get into where we're at now, and people with significant money are they're resto modding everything. I mean, Singer is the perfect example of overspending on something that wasn't very good to be. I mean, it was good at what it was at the time.
Yeah.
But it was ancient. It was ancient, and they're spending $1 million on a car that you could have bought for $5,000 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And not to say that the car's not brilliant, but like they're changing what it was. That's not the thing.
Yeah.
And so we're at this weird intersection of you buy these cars and then what do you do with it? And is it, I took a little bit issue with like what ND or NA Miata that they had. I mean,
NB,
the first thing
NB,
you take that Miata, the first thing you're going to do is either throw a supercharge on it, V8 swap it. Like, you're not just going to go.
They are slow.
Yeah. They're slow. And especially as Ryan, you're going to talk about your experiences with the loaner cars you've had in a minute. Everything's fast now.
I know. I know.
The extent.
Well, not everything, Michael.
Well, but whatever you drove, as you talk about these two cars you're going to talk about, they're both faster than that Miata.
Oh, it's true. It's true, especially in NB. I think the NDs seem slow, but they're quite a bit quicker even than the NBs, right?
But I think that's the fun part because you can buy the stock one, and then you can change it the way that you want. You can make it your own.
It's true.
But then again,
number two?
Then real quickly, then we move past why it's a value car, right? Then why it's an affordable car. All right, real quickly. Well, let's finish this out.
Because somehow we're at 41 minutes. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but
everybody in the podcast knows I'm long-winded. The sleeper car, honestly, is the what is it? The 0708 RS4 convertible. They only made like 400, like literally only made like 300 a year. Or
that's
400 a year.
Yep.
They don't have. I owned an. I could tell you a whole other story about my S4, my 02 S4, which I loved to death until someone hit it while it was parked. Those are great cars. Yes, they're not the fastest of that era with the C class and all the rest of it, but works great. Like especially the RS4 because it's got the improved timing chain guides. Yeah. Some generally bulletproof, but they literally made like 300 a year of those things.
Michael, that's a car I've almost forgotten about. We talk about the sedan quite often, and I have a couple friends here who've got them. I own the S, the non-RS, but the 08, the last year of that V8.
Yeah, I had an 04. Yeah. Which is more or less the same car, yeah.
But that convertible, Michael, you know, that was a rare thing as you've illustrated, and it had a completely different interior. Do you remember that?
Whole different dash, whole different everything.
Completely different, I think, chassis.
It still had it had more bracing, so it was stiffer than the sedan, but it still had that aggressive kind of, it had the haunches.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
in retrospect, maybe even the better looking of the two, right?
I agree.
I like any car that kind of has a square stance, and that very much had that. I don't know if it actually had a shorter wheelbase or not, but it seemed like a different car. And yeah, that is a relatively modern deep cut. So,
and
all
then
right, how do you top that?
Lastly, a car that that I owned this will go on the record. I owned a 92, but the 90 through 95 ZR1, the C4 Corvette.
Yeah.
The car, the interior's garbage, but the drivetrain is that car. That's a Lotus designed. It has no shared parts with a normal 5.7 350 V8. It is a Lotus designed.
Right.
It is completely Lotus designed, built in England, or engineered in England, built in Stillwater, Oklahoma, from Mercury Marine, who is the boat company.
That's right.
32 valves, 16 injectors, had a power key, right? You could go from 275 to, it was 375, and in the later years it was 405. But that thing, it had a ZF. So it had a ZF 6-speed, one of the early 6-speed boxes, bulletproof. That car drove so well. It sounded, there's nothing that sounds like it. It is
400 horsepower
amazing.
Or 500? I can't remember.
90 through 92 were 375.
Okay.
In 93 to 95, when they stopped production, they were 405.
Okay.
And just, that car ran. That car ran with a good exhaust.
Yeah.
I owned a 92 that was cocaine spec, white on white.
I love it.
I had a cocaine spec, white on white. I mean, the looks people would give you, especially once they saw the interior. But and it rattled.
Amazing.
Like the car is
sure.
It's not that the car is horrible and it all works, but it ran. It steers really well. It rotates very well. I never took it on track, but you do some spirited driving in it. It's a better car than you think it is, and that a high miler is in the teens. Collector grade is 40, 50 plus, but then again, it's going to have all the seals are bad. Like it's a problem. But you could buy one for 20, 25 grand and drive the ever living snot out of it. Tons of aftermarket support, and
our pal Brian Rudin, who's been on the show, who has, among other things, Diablo I've driven, an F40 I haven't driven yet.
Oh yeah, right.
A Dino, goes on and on. He just picked one up because it was like these other cars, a poster car for him when he was in middle school, high school. I think he paid like 25 grand. It's a really nice car. It's not, a Concours.
We should. I'm happy to coach him through it, because there are some things that those things need. Not just maintenance wise, but also. The only thing it needs is just an exhaust. You don't need to cut the headers out. You don't need to do all the crap. You don't need none of it. You just it's so much fun. You should you know what, you got to get behind the wheel of that.
Yeah, no, I plan to, and we talk about the Diablo, right, that he's got. In the Autoblog article I did, I referred to it as, I don't know, like a cigarette boat or something. But I kind of feel like, the ZR1 is that same sort of vibe. It's all fiberglass and literally a marine engine, right? Or damn close, right?
No. Yeah, it's as close as you can get, because people forget at one point GM owned Lotus. Like fully owned Lotus.
Yeah.
Hired them to engineer a brand new engine. There was all sorts of, obviously backroom drama. And then they outsourced it to a, Mercury Marine in Stillwater, Oklahoma, to build the actual motor.
That's amazing.
Tim Allen had GM put one in a Impala SS for him.
That's right.
Boyd Coddington put one in a OBS truck, a 92 or a 93. They're remarkable engines and sound. I promise you, 32 valve, just 16 injectors, individual runners, like, as complex as anything of its time. It just didn't. The downfall was it didn't look that much different than a regular Corvette. So when you walked into the showroom and it's $30,000 for a Corvette and it's $70,000 for a ZR1, you're like, short of the motor, like, what am I getting? And that was bad marketing, but that thing runs. And for a Lindsay, reasonable amount, it runs.
Lindsay, you know this. Back in the day when those were new, you would check the taillights of every Corvette of that era you saw in hopes that you'd see the squared off taillights and that it was a ZR1, right?
I would tell you. Yep.
Oh, and then
but that's what you couldn't do. There's only two places you can see where that's a ZR1. It was the only one that, at least until 96, that had a stop lamp up above. So you know how it had the hatch? It had a third brake light up top.
Okay.
But
top, instead of on the deck. Yeah.
Correct. Instead of on the back bumper, it had a stoplight. But the other thing you could tell is when you looked at the license plate surround, you have the license plate, right? And let's call it a rectangle. And then the mounting point was this black frame, and it was like that thick.
Okay.
The ZR1s were wider because the car is an inch and a half wide. It's 3 inches wider in the rear.
The
doors are different.
Interesting.
Yeah, everything from the cowl back is different. The doors are wider because they have to flare out more because the car is literally 3 inches. But to the average person, they didn't put flares. They didn't do all the body mod. Yeah. It doesn't look any different. And I think when you're spending $70,000 back in the day, you wanted to you pull up the valet, you want it to look different than the guy who's just driving his run of the mill. But get in that car. I think that is a 2026 Q1. Well, weather notwithstanding out there, you need to get in that car so we can hear your thoughts. But more importantly, take that top off and hear what it sounds like.
So in college, I had a girl pick me up in a yellow ZR1, and I thought she was the coolest thing in the world. I later figured out that it was most likely her boyfriend's car, and her boyfriend owned a strip club, so it all kind of tracked.
I was hoping you were going to say husband, but that's all right.
So it all made sense.
Yeah, that's the first and last time I've ever been in a ZR1, and I'll never forget it. But,
and you got a great story out of it.
That's a better story than me owning one. That is a good story.
That is a memorable story. Well done. Sometimes you got to do things for the sake of the plot, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, I think these were, I guess 9 or 11, depending on how you're counting.
I think we have
really
10
great
plus one alternate
choices.
Is what we're going to say.
Have either one of you, Ryan, you probably see him a lot out there. Have you ever driven an Audi 4000?
I have not, although I have an uncle who I believe still owns one, has one in his garage.
I want to buy. I'm going on the record. I want to buy.
Yeah. Okay.
The best car, especially in Colorado.
Yeah.
That and a set of snow tires. Honest to God, you can. I drove that thing to Steamboat. Best car ever.
Really?
Oh my God.
Really?
Oh
really?
my God.
Really?
If you can
best
find
car
one
ever. That is
rusted
a
out.
tall. That is a statement.
60 Minutes era Audi right there.
Oh my God! I mean, if your uncle still owns one, I want it. Yeah. I want it.
Well, that's a car you just don't see, and maybe that should be on on the next list, right? But there you go. There's the 2026 that car show
affordable
market list. Yeah, that's right. So, all right, should we move on?
List.
Yes,
please.
But that was fun. I applaud you both on very good choices. So
yeah, Lindsay, you both had great ideas.
Well chosen, gentlemen.
That car show is brought to you by Sheffield Watches. Sheffield is the storied watchmaking brand that was revived a couple of years back by our good friend Jay Turkbus, and it's seen wild success in both the car and watch enthusiast communities. Sheffield offers a wide selection of watches, many inspired by the iconic designs of its 1960s dive models, most notably the one that Jay's parents gave him in 1970, which ignited his lifelong passion for watches. Sheffield watches are high quality, reasonably priced, and a great value. Sheffield has truly become the car guy and car gal's watch of choice. Order your Sheffield watch at SheffieldWatches.com. Give them a follow on the gram at Sheffield_allsport_watches and tell them that car show sent you. All right. So in the interest of moving on and not going too long tonight, when I was thinking about those cars, and they're all wonderful in their own ways, it got me thinking, what are the 3 worst cars you've ever driven and why? Because I've driven a couple of stinkers lately. They haven't been press cars, but they've been rental cars. And rental cars tend to, I think they continue to sell cars to rental outfits after they go out of, commission or out of circulation for the general public. And then as you both know too, rental cars seem to be staying in circulation a lot longer than ever before. I've had a couple of rental cars recently with well over 50,000 miles, which is something that you would not have had back in the day.
Right.
And the other thing that got me thinking about this is I got a letter in the mail the other day from Hertz. They've put me in collections for $52 over something I have no idea what.
A mystery charge.
And we hear about all the shady shit that Hertz is doing with their car scanners and all this.
Yeah.
So, just send a bill for $52 to everyone who ever rented from Hertz, and that'll get you out of bankruptcy.
Collections, they didn't bother to reach out. You didn't get any
never heard anything
no
about
text
anything.
message, nothing.
No.
Collections feels a little drastic.
I love the surprise element of it, where they're like, we're going to do a penalty, but we're going to make it fun.
$52. I mean, you tell me what it's for. Of course, I'm not going to pay because I don't know what it's for.
I didn't do it.
I collections, so screw you, Hertz. So we're going to dump on you a little bit here today. And that got me thinking about the really shitty cars I've gotten from Hertz, including a Tesla Model 3 I've had recently. I think that had 60 or 80,000 miles on it, beat all to crap. But two of the three worst cars I have on my list are recent rentals from Hertz. So, but I don't want to go first. Michael, you want to take this one first? Three worst cars you've ever driven.
This is sounding less like the worst cars you've ever driven and like who's the worst car rental company that you've rented from.
Well, I want to make that $52 hurt.
Have an inventory, which is Ford Fusion is undrivable. It's just so many things wrong with it. It's just so many things wrong. It's a car that never should have been.
Okay. They tried to sell those as police cars, and I feel like in New York City you still see them, or did up until recently.
Fusions?
The Fusions, yeah. Which was
it's just everything about it. You're just like, if Waymo was around when I had to rent a Ford Fusion, I would have taken a Waymo. And I am not a autonomous driving person.
But Michael, they had the Aston Martin grill, lest we forget. Do you remember that?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. I struggle with this one because there's just a lot of garbage. There's so many, and by the way, not because, a lot of times the cars are garbage, but they're not meant for me, if that makes sense. So there's just a lot of shit out there that it's just no fun to drive. You look around and be like, I don't want to be seen about it because I'm not that vain, but like, I'm worried I'm going to get home or this is operating safely.
So what I'm hearing is it's not them, it's you.
Yeah, it's totally me. I'm sorry, guys. I failed at this one because I had fun with the other one, obviously. But when Ryan said, "Hey, what are the three worst cars you've driven?" Like, there's just, if the world was a rational place, we'd all just be driving Honda Civics, right? Because they work, they get good gas mileage, they're affordable, or they were affordable. Like, but everything else is just, it either falls into a category of lust and want and are willing to put up with some quirks, or it just turns into transportation. And that's a lot. That's a lot.
So
So I defer.
Three.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
The rest of the brain trust.
Well, it's funny that you said we'd all be driving that, because I don't know if you listened to Spike's show this week, but at the end, they asked Jerry Seinfeld if he wanted, like, what he would choose. And he said a current Honda Accord, just because they
brought
him.
up pictures of the Accord. Yeah.
Interesting.
This is probably a guy who's never been to a grocery store either. So like everything mundane is probably very interesting to him.
It's a novelty, right?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's a novelty.
I think it's the novelty. Yeah, I mean, but when you think about, like, it's one of those things where it's almost circular. Like, he has this amazing collection. I can understand the intrigue of, like, it's so different from anything else he has. Yeah, which there are a lot of cars in that category. But yeah, he was waxing lyrical about the current Honda Accord.
And the current one is probably the best one ever made, and yet, at least here in Denver, you hardly see them. Everyone's in a Passport or a Pilot or whatever. But interesting.
Well, that makes sense with the weather.
It's true, but Ford said something with the interest rates and just everything that's going on and the cost of cars. I think the average car now is $50,000 or more. that they are planning to start building more sedans because
they're going back.
Are just well, we've talked about this. Everything is cyclical, right?
Yeah.
You know, but also factoring into that is the fact that, you know, crossovers and SUVs have broken that $50,000 mark for the first time. So,
yeah.
I will say I do lust after a neighbor of mine who moved recently had a 2-door 90 with those 2-door Accords.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. So good.
They
so
really
good.
were.
I mean,
they really were.
They were so good. Just a simple, like 4-speed, 4-cylinder. Just a, you know, if Jerry saw one of those, he'd own one of those too.
I remember when they redesigned them. I don't know I think it was like late, early mid 90s, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was like,
right.
They were
more swoopy, the swoopier ones.
Yeah, it was like they were trying to make it look more like a luxury car. It was a huge design step forward for them.
I think it was 1990, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it?
Because
okay.
I went in with my
family. You also had
the
Legend,
the
very early Legend. Thank you, the Legend 2-door. Lusted after those.
Yeah, which, by the way, great name for a car, the Legend. I mean, come on, right? You're setting the bar high. But at 1990, I remember going in with my parents. That was that 90 to 94, I think it was, that redone car. You get the 4-door or the 2-door.
I'm thinking of the 94 or 95 version. If
where they really got sexy.
That's what I mean. It was a huge leap forward.
Yes. And they were all teal with the gold package.
Yeah. No, those are the accurate. Those are the accurate Vigors.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and the redesigned the like early 90s, or no, it was mid 90s Suburban redesign. Like 50% of those were teal. You know, teal was having a moment.
Let's bring teal back. If teal was on a Porsche, we'd be paying a premium for it, right?
Like we talked about at the auto show, color. Yeah. Let's bring color to the world again.
Absolutely, and let's bring simplicity back too. This was the era where you could get a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder. You could get a 2-door or a 4-door, and you got a DX and LX, or if you were really feeling rich, an EX. You know, and done. And that was what you got, right? You know, I don't know, simpler times.
Well, we always look back on the good old days, right?
All right, Lindsay, what do you have here?
Okay, so this was a struggle for me because one of the things that I have noticed about myself is, you know, we're all very lucky. We get to drive a wide variety of cars. Like people are very generous with their keys, much more, I think, than outside the car world. So I love driving so much, and I love trying something new, that it's very rare for me to drive something that I take it overall as a negative, because there's something about just getting to drive a different car that I'm inherently, you know, looking at it in a positive light.
Yeah.
So it was tricky. I came up with 2, and then I had to bring in reinforcements and ask Tori if he had any ideas.
Hey,
so 2 are mine and 1 is his.
He's a good phone to home, or what they call it on the.
I phoned a friend, and so I'll start with that one.
Yeah,
because he had lots of thoughts. So he had a GR86 at one point for, I believe, less than 3 months. He put maybe 900 miles on it. Couldn't stand it, and ended up selling it back to the dealer like before he had even put 1,000 miles on it.
Interesting. Was this one of the early ones with the torque dip?
I don't know that much about them. It was in the last couple of years.
Let's say it was. Oh, really? Okay, interesting. So maybe it was a newer one. Okay,
it was a new. Yeah, he bought it new.
What did he give any insight as to, like, was it? I don't want to call it an impulse purchase, but like what got him there to say yes?
He was intrigued and thought he would enjoy it and thought it would be a fun car. And it turned out none of that was correct. So he said it had like copious, nanny aids that couldn't be turned off, to the point where if the car sensed something like up ahead, it would just randomly slam the brakes on. And so there were multiple instances where he almost got rear-ended because the car slammed the brakes on.
That's a deal killer.
That's too bad.
Yeah, that was, it doesn't make you want to go drive around.
No.
It had poor visibility. It was underpowered. He said it had fake engine noises piped into the cabin, which is, for a car enthusiast, that's an immediate no. he said the rear 3/4 visibility was abysmal, and apparently those cars come with like a track day experience, and the car was so bad that he never even took him up on it.
Really.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, I've driven both models, the earlier car and the newer one. I like them both, but both woefully underpowered, especially the earlier one.
Yeah, that was another
it had
complaint.
this sort of torque dip. So as you were running through the revs, it like the power fell off, which was just a weird and sort of disconcerting feeling.
That's not the way you want that curve to go.
No. You know, like the GR Corolla is just so much better and so much quicker. You know, I could never see, you know,
like committing
not
to the
spending
GR86.
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. But that's too bad. I want to love those. I think they should have come out with a convertible version. I think that would have been a real competitor to the Miata, because despite our complaints, it's still more powerful, right? Or at least was. Do you have any experience with the 86, the BRZ, or the?
I drove the BRZ at the auto show 2 years ago when we were doing our drives.
That's right.
And, you know, I thought it was fun, but again, it's like any test drive where it's tough to really form an opinion one way or another when you drive it, you know, for 3 or 4 blocks.
Yeah.
I liked that it was a manual. I was impressed that they had manuals available at the auto show for people to drive. Yeah, because you guys took the other manual, right?
Right, WRX, I think it was. Yep.
So I was, you know, enamored of that. And again, I was like, ooh, I get to drive something new, and it's a manual. Right. And, you know, the vehicle host was fun. So, you know, it's hard to really get a feel for the car unless you get to spend some real time with it. But yeah, so that was that. And this is throwing it way back to probably 25 years ago. I got to drive a Mercedes-Benz SL 500, and I believe it was the R230 model.
Oh, so like the peanut headlights.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't remember the headlights that like that finely. But I was it wasn't
an R129 though. It wasn't an R129 like the classic.
No.
Right. Okay.
No, it was the R230, I believe.
Okay.
And I was so excited to drive this car, and it was a hardtop convertible.
Yeah, that's the one.
And you know, I was just jazzed, and it was a friend's car, and I was driving down the road, and found myself very baffled and confused because it was driving just like an 85 Bronco, which is fine if you're driving an 85 Bronco, but not if you're driving a fancy, you know, Mercedes-Benz convertible. Yeah. So
it was all
gotta
over the
pan
place.
That one. Sorry.
It was all over the place.
I mean, actually, I realized
was it just moving around, or it just
and I
drove
probably
like
need to
bucking
refine.
Bronco?
I need to refine my description because it's not fair to a Bronco, really. I was like, how do you succinctly describe and contrast that the driving experience was not what you would expect given what I was driving?
Right.
The steering was really vague, and the ride was really rough, and it was hard to tell like where the car was on the road, and it wasn't the luxurious driving, you know, luxurious engaged driving experience that I would have expected from what the car was and the way it looked and the brand and all that. But again, it was I was like, this is wild. I did not see this coming.
No. That era of Mercedes-Benz, at least for me, is probably my least favorite era. There's just something about, so I don't know, what is that, like the 2003 Chrysler to like 2008 or something? Right?
Well, I was going to say they were
Chrysler.
That was
there's
Daimler.
a lot of Chrysler infusion in there.
Yeah. So that was probably part of it, that it wasn't, you know, a true Mercedes experience or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah,
much
definitely.
Like you, Lindsay, I had a friend who was so excited to get her first nice car, you know, out of college, whatever, and got a C220 or whatever it was at the same time. I remember getting it.
God.
Oh my God, this isn't half as nice as my, you know, A4 that I had at the time. I was really disappointed in it as well.
So close.
Yeah, or not.
Yeah, and I just, you know, at the time, I mean, like driving a convertible, I didn't have access to that in my daily life, and so I was like, I just felt like the coolest girl, you know, driving down the road.
Oh, for sure.
And then not.
Yeah. No, that's a
Until
brave
they look
choice,
at your
though.
face and you look so sad, and they're like, "Why is this beautiful lady so sad in her beautiful car?" Like it just.
I'm like 0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
You know, that is, we talk about malaise era cars, but I think like Mercedes-Benz was killing it in the 70s and the early 80s, right? I mean, those cars are great. They're still around, but that was the malaise era in my eyes.
What's funny is it looked great. Like I loved the design and, you know, so it was just shocking all around.
Yeah. That was a weird era for Mercedes.
Yeah. Okay. So my third choice is, it's a unique to me bad car because I love these and I know that they are highly regarded and they're sort of thought of as like the peak, enduring example of this car. But the only one that I've ever driven of this model of these, it turned out it had been totally neglected, not maintained at all. So it drove, again, it was all over the road. Like the steering, was numb, suspension was shot. Like, again, it was one of those, like the person I was driving it with, we kept looking at each other and going like, this cannot be the car that everybody talks about. Like, something's not right. An E39 M5.
Really?
Oh yeah. I've experienced that 100%.
And I love them. And I mean, everybody knows I love BMWs. You know, like I went in as a friendly audience.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to drive this car, and it was in beautiful cosmetic shape, and it was the red, of those, which is such a classic car. I love that body style. I see them on the road, I get so excited. And it was the red with the black interior. And I was driving it to possibly buy it, and again, it was like, what is happening?
It's
so that's
one of
one-off.
those don't meet your heroes moments, because you're like, this is going to be fun, and then you think about, I could modify it and like just bring it up 0.2, and then you drive it and you're just like, this is boring.
Well, this one was like, this was just a poor example of these, it turned out, but but it was comical because of how highly regarded those cars are, and then to find one that was not representing the brand well.
That's a car that I think more than most cars really depends on condition. And when I say the word tune, I don't mean that it's been tuned, but just sort of the state of tune, right? I've driven a couple. I've driven a really exceptional example, and one when it was still relatively new, but that had been beat. It was a Michigan car. It was a 2000. It was the blue color. And I didn't get, that was the first time I had been in an E39. I had been in a 540, a Dynan, and some other, E39s, and that had torque. And this car didn't have the torque that, the Dynan 540 had. I was a little disappointed too. But I think when those cars are dialed in, they're sublime. But the problem is
sublime.
It's got to be dialed in, right?
They're labor intensive.
And I think that's what's so interesting is like when you talk to people that have a good example, like they just wax on and on about how amazing they are. And I think that is one of the most timeless designs, especially because the Bangle era followed it. So the contrast was even more, highlighting how good the E39 design is. So no, that's more of like, it makes me laugh to look back on how crazy that one was.
Right. No, it's that's a brave choice for the worst cars you've ever driven.
No, it's true. It's true. I had, I was fortunate enough. My dad bought a 97 6-speed 540, and it brand new, and it ran, and 2-3 years later replaced it with a 01 automatic 540, and it was just like, it lost its soul. You were isolated, but you were kind of like, to your point, numb about like there was just you drove it like you would drive a Camry, and the M5s, Ryan, to your point, like if they're maintained properly, but like you got to do the things. You can't just let it sit. It has to be, you have to do the suspension. You have to do the right type of intake. You got to put a little work into it, but they have potential, but unfortunately out the box, or if you get one that's heavily used, worn down, the juice isn't worth the squeeze sometimes, unfortunately, but they are beautiful. And they hold up. The interiors hold up beautifully.
I'll never forget when that car was new at the Chicago Auto Show, and I guess it would have been 99 or 2000 or whatever, and sitting in one, and it was a dark blue with a camel leather interior, and I just thought, it gave me sort of purpose to like go out and get a job and graduate, college. And I guess I graduated college at that point, but it was just, it was something to aspire to. It was really special.
Yeah. You're
and
like,
so
this right here.
This is the little steering wheel and
that was, I don't know if anybody remembers the BMW films that they made with Clive Owen.
Yeah,
and he played the driver.
I have DVDs I can send you, an actual DVD copy.
Yeah, I think I have one around here too, like the DVD of the series.
Amazing.
And that was the one that he drove. That was also the one that they made the ad where there was a big like cruise ship and it's on the water and then the car drives by on the water.
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't remember that one.
It was that era M5 or 5 Series. So, there's a lot of like mystique and magic around that one on top of how much people love them. So it's even funnier.
And then Chris Bangle, reared his ugly head and all went to shit, right?
God love him.
Yeah. Although
bless his heart.
That M5, the car that succeeded the E39 was on Hagerty's bull market list. So
I know that's what was so. Yeah, talk about a nice callback.
with bad rod bearings all the time.
But a V10.
No, they did good. They and Audi, like they stepped up. Like Audi's doing V10s, BMW doing V10s. I don't want to say it's a bygone era because who knows what's going to happen in the future. But it was like, I mean, no passenger car was having V10s. Ever until they're like, here, we'll just stick this thing in here and see what happens. But
they did it.
All right, Ryan, let's hear yours.
All right, I'm going to make this quick. I have 3, but these are going to be a bit of a letdown after the E39 M5 being one of the worst cars you've ever driven. So I'm going to go with any Chevy Malibu of recent vintage. So I'm talking 2003 or 2007 to present, which they still make, and it's basically the same damn car. I've had several of these as rental cars over the years. I knew they were slow. I was shocked to find out they are the base model, the rental car spec are 122 to 124 horsepower, depending on trim. So if you're getting spendy, you get that extra 2 horsepower. These they're still very popular. Hertz, especially Hertz.
Picking up a theme here with Hertz.
Well, there's no car that hurts quite like a modern Chevy Malibu because it's a throwback. It's a big car, woefully underpowered. Again, they all smell like weed when you rent them from Hertz.
What?
They still have like the old school sort of infotainment and everything. But so if you're starting out with a big car with 122 horsepower, and then you're at Denver, that car's already down to 100. Right? Just when you pull it out of the garage. And as you go up,
sounds like a traffic hazard more than anything.
It really is. I had a buddy in one and we thought that it was broken. And then they gave us another one and realized it was just as slow. I mean, dangerously slow.
It's not broken. It's
dangerously
just a piece of junk.
Just a piece of junk, I mean, they're okay on the highway. Once you're moving, they're kind of old school and comfortable and all that, but terrible cars.
You get momentum and it sort of builds on itself.
Downhill, coming back from Vail, no brakes.
It's got to be one of the slowest cars, sold, right? And I think 2025 was actually the last year they finally took it out of its misery.
Put it out to pasture.
Yeah. Another one that it actually has surprisingly a bit more power, but it's just a strange car. And in its first version, one of the ugliest cars in of the modern era, and that's the Jeep Compass. I don't know if either one of you have had the misery of driving a Jeep Compass, especially the early one. Rental, they will force that thing on you, if it kills them.
May we interest
good God,
you
are they
in?
bad? So ugly. 158 horsepower though, so kind of a muscle car in comparison.
The good news is that Mother Earth is taking those things back because they rusted like Swiss cheese. So like they've been absorbed back into the earth.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that.
They broke, rotted in someone's front yard, and then all that just kind of reabsorbed into the earth.
Yep, absolutely. Self-recycling, right?
Yep. They are 100% recyclable.
I should probably just quit while I'm ahead, but my third choice for this was a car that we owned 2 of as a kid, but the first gen Chrysler minivan. We had the 4 cylinders. You could get a 6-cylinder, and I think it was a difference of like 121 versus like 140 horsepower if you upgraded to the Pentastar, I think it was. The thing that really killed those was that they had a 3-speed automatic transmission.
Yeah,
Now,
3-speed.
A 3-speed.
Isn't that
and this
wild?
was up to the early 90s, I think it had the 3-speed, or maybe it got the 4-speed in 90.
Did you have one with wood paneling on the side?
We didn't, because we
The
were
Town
not
and Country
like that. No, we had the first one we had was the base, and then we had the middle one, which I think was the LX, kind of like the Honda model again. And then there was one, I don't know if it was we had the SE. That's what it was. That was the sporty one that had the rally wheels. But I had a friend at school whose parents had a Town and Country, and it had the wood. It had the Infinity sound system, Michael. Infinity, you know.
I know.
And it
oh
felt
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
The
whole
Infinity
different
was
kind
in
of
the Jeep
class
Grand
of vehicle.
Cherokees. Yeah, it was all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the little equalizer, the 5-band
like
equalizer.
it was like a 5-band or something. Yeah. Tiny little, chiclet, buttons. But yeah, that was.
I'm gonna push back on you on that, because that literally that's Lee Iacocca. That saved Chrysler from like literally dissolving as a company. So thank you for keeping a lot of people employed and keeping Chrysler to where it. The through line here is, without you buying that minivan, then Lindsay can't have that shitty experience later on with the SL, because Chrysler would have been around to be bought by Mercedes if they didn't build that minivan. So
that's right.
And what would we have talked about tonight on our show?
Her bad driving experience is your fault.
That's so funny.
Family had
And I do need to give credit where credit's due. Doug DeMuro can confirm this. They did do for a year or two a 4-cylinder turbo, and you could also get a manual transmission for a couple of years. So the rare bird is the manual transmission turbo. I think it was a Mitsubishi turbo. Of course, this was the day, the era of the Starion and all that crossover. Yeah. But at the time, it wasn't a bad car. But in retrospect, it was a truly bad car. But to your point, an important car.
It was the Dodge Caravan, and what was the Chrysler equivalent called?
Voyager, or the Plymouth was a Voyager.
Plymouth Voyager, Chrysler
Town and Country.
I think it was Chrysler.
It was just the upscale,
just the
because Chrysler and I think Plymouth were sold at the same dealerships. Dodge was its own thing, right? It was.
Well, and what's funny about those is they were very popular when they came out, again, because the minivan shape and concept.
They created the minivan segment.
Huge.
There was not a minivan segment until that.
Yeah, right, and so you could get a station wagon, which was not ideal because you have the kids that are in the back rear-facing seats. The minivan was much more usable.
Love a station wagon. I almost picked that as my BS list, because I love a station wagon.
Station wagons are good. We're not going to get to it tonight, but I got to tell you about my adventures in the new Subaru Forester Wilderness that I drove up about 3/4 of the way to the peak of Pikes Peak before I had to turn around. But that was a throwback, because that was probably the first car since a Chrysler minivan that I've been in that had all that glass, and it was kind of a beautiful thing. But I'm so I don't know if we always appreciate how good cars are now. Right. And it's we've come a long way from 1984 in this.
How easy they are. You brought up the Land Rover, and people were spending really big money back then, but they also, people don't put up with the kind of BS anymore. And this is not that back then was better, but people were buying expensive Range Rovers, and if it broke, they weren't that upset. You go and you spend $100,000+ on a Range Rover now, and you want to light the whole town on fire. We put up with a lot more back then for
we did.
Lindsay, to your point, being seen in the I got here car, I made it car. So,
people were willing to tolerate a less than stellar maintenance record as long as they were seen around town in the car.
Maybe it started, maybe it didn't,
right. But
it was still parked in your driveway, so if someone knew you made it, even if it never left your driveway.
Yeah.
I'm not stuck on the side of the road. I'm parked here intentionally. I just thought of an alternate on my worst cars list, and it is one of the cars I learned how to drive in. It was my mom's car at the time, an Oldsmobile Custom Cruiser station wagon.
Oh, sure.
Full size station wagon. Yeah. But I will always be grateful to that car because it was the same length or longer than a Suburban. So,
wow.
It really makes you learn how to drive and parallel park and be aware of the size of your car. But man, was that thing just a beast, not a good way to drive.
And it was like driving in a
miserable.
Barca Lounger. Like, it was comfy. It was slow. It did have velour.
Sure. You were smoking,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Or no, this one might have had like Naugahyde seats.
Pleather.
So be careful where you ash.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and like, those things are comically bad almost because you step on the gas and the tail goes.
Oh yeah. Cars just don't drive like that anymore.
It's safe as a tank. Bad. You could run over your neighbor's house, the mailbox. Like you will be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was middle gray, which meant everything was middle gray, like inside, outside.
Oh really?
Wow. Oh, just bleh.
It looked like concrete. It's just color concrete.
That's like few cars give me PTSD, like almost none. And that one, I still decades later, I'm still just like, bleh.
But now as a mother, imagine all the shit you could fit, not just in the back seat, but in the cargo area. And you'd be like, that's a good Costco run.
6 more kids,
Yeah, that's a good Costco. Think of how many Porsche parts or a whole Porsche you could probably fit a 350. So you could easily put a 350, 1800 in motor in the back of that. So you could actually use that as a parts runner.
I solved for that with something that's actually enjoyable to drive, and that's the F-150.
There you go. V8 in that? Lindsay, or is that a Turbo 6?
That one's a V6 turbo.
Okay. Because, all those cars had V8s, like that big station wagon. You forget, how nice
I thought you were asking about the truck. I don't know.
Oh, no, the truck. But I mean, yeah, I feel like all the modern...
that Oldsmobile probably had a... Yeah. It probably had a smaller V6 or V8. Yeah, it probably.
I mean,
it was same engine that's in that Range Rover we were talking about.
I'd be shocked if that one had a V8. It was not.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it was underpowered.
Some straight 6 or something. All right. Well, we should move on. And we are at 1 hour and 23 minutes, so we'll try to keep this brief. But a couple of things I wanted to mention. Thank you to everyone who sent this in. The Porsche 718, so the Boxster and the Cayman, they wrap up their current generation, the 982, with the best sales year of the whole run. So this is a car that came out, I think, in 17. It is now 2026. So 9-year run. But this last year, 2025, I think they're still making maybe just the 4 RSs and the Spider RSs. But this past year, 2025, they've sold more than they've ever sold. And I think this is in part sort of a reaction to this threat that had been looming over us for the last couple of years of it going electric. Of course, those of us who have these cars, we're kind of hoping they wouldn't sell and
they'd stick to their guns,
worth that much more. But I thought that was very interesting. Speaking of which, coming out in the forums and some of the other, dark corners of the internet are that there are some owners with the 718 GT4 RS. So again, this is the sort of the top of the line Cayman. So you've got the standard cars, the 2-liter, the 2.5 liter. Then you've got the GT4 and the GT4 RS. Certain cars were delivered that had under-torqued or loose drivetrain bolts. And supposedly they were all cars that were built at Osnabrück, and I'm sure I'm butchering that pronunciation. But this is, they call this the VW plant. So apparently with this demand, that meant that some of these cars weren't being built at Zuffenhausen, but they were in fact going to this overflow plant that also makes Volkswagens. And so that has been a rude surprise to some folks, which I guess brings me to the question, is it important to you where your Porsche is made? So this happened earlier in the 718 run as well, where some of the cars were made at, let's call them off-site locations. Would you be disappointed?
Factories.
Right. I mean, this is a tale as old as time, right? Some of these cars were, some of the, the G-Wagon, I think, at least for a long time, was made in Austria, right? Would you be upset if your G-Wagon wasn't? Still is. Okay. So
still is. I can't speak to the electric. I don't know if the electric ones are, but every other G-Wagon since the dawn of time has been made in Austria.
Okay, right, because of Steyr-Puch or whatever
I couldn't tell you why, but again, and maybe even the electric ones are too, but
sure.
Every other G-Wagon since the beginning has been made in Austria, and to this day and continue to be.
And I guess you can bring this down to, like, does it matter if it's even made in Germany, right? I mean, and I bring that up because, how many Mercedes or BMWs are made in the States now, right? Is this, have we transcended this? Alabama,
and
right?
North Carolina,
South Carolina, is it? Or,
Spartanburg.
Okay.
Yeah, Spartanburg.
South Carolina.
Spartanburg, North Carolina.
Those are just the crossovers in the SUVs.
I mean,
anyway.
it's just a throwback to the days when, there was a Van Nuys plant here in LA making Camaros, and they're like, you never want a Monday car or a Friday car.
Right.
I mean, I think what you saw interesting about Porsche was they were down for the year, especially with their China stuff. But to your point, Ryan, that model 718s were up, with at least in the first half of the year, the thought that it was going away. And so probably to meet demand, maybe they were a little quicker to get it through the line than maybe they normally would have been if it had a cadence or it had, it didn't have like an end date or an expiration date, so to speak. And then they revamped the whole thing and said, just kidding. We're going to go back on that. So I think this is a fluke personally. I think this was just, this is one of those things. Now, I have heard stories of like a lot of those Volkswagens, not just the historical stuff, but even more recent stuff. The stuff that's made in Germany has an actual different assembly than the stuff that's made in Mexico, specifically for Volkswagens. And that just may be the way the plant's laid out and et cetera. But I think the larger question is, now that the Moroni label or the sticker, the window sticker is, it's, Moroni label is a formal name for it. Does anybody even look about where the final assembly occurred? So Ryan, to your point, if the marketplace looks at that and someone actually starts to point it out on a bring a trailer or whatever, is anybody going to blanch at it being from Stuttgart or wherever?
The 356s, right? There were cars that were made at, I'm going to mess this up, there was a separate plant that made 912s and 356s, right? That wasn't the Porsche plant, and it's escaping me now. And I don't know if those cars are considered lesser, but they are considered different, right?
Yeah.
Because
they talk about, this one was built here, this one was built here. This group was built. Yeah.
As soon as we hang up here, I'm going to remember the name, but that's something, in the Grand, in the route book, when we do the descriptions, that's something we weave into the narrative. It's part of the story, I guess, if nothing else. And that leads me to the final thing we'll talk about. There's so much we didn't get to, but we're already at an hour and a half, which I think is some sort of record for a cruise show, which is a good sign. But now that 718s, right, even a base 718, is $90,000 with a few options, should Porsche come out with a car that slots below the 718. So obviously when, was it 99 or 2000 when the Boxster came out, it was a $40,000 car, right? And of course, maybe when you factor into inflation, it's not that different from $90,000 now, but is it time to bring back a 924 or, something in the spirit of the original Boxster, right? There's so much crossover anymore.
Need.
Yeah. Porsche's gotten so expensive.
I know when the Boxster first came out, it got a lot of, proverbial side eye from people going like, well, it's the poor man's, Porsche and fill in XYZ. But, and looking at it now, there are people kind of coming around and going like, that's going to be the next big thing in a lot of ways, or it's something that's still accessible. You can pick them up and get a good deal. So I think it made the brand accessible to a lot more people, obviously, because it was more affordable. So I think the question is like, is that what Porsche wants, or does it want to maintain the exclusivity that the current pricing does?
Yeah, they're selling every one they make, right? So
I mean, in their mind, outside of like, maybe we can sell more cars and make more money, it depends on what they want for the brand. But it definitely allowed, like, I knew people that bought Boxsters and they were so excited that they were able to have a Porsche and participate and like buy into this brand that is a big deal and was a huge, again, like, go back to status symbol, like that was a big achievement at the time, because it had seemed unattainable until those came out. I mean, and I think, going back to the factory question, unless there is like where everybody knows what the factory is, I don't care where the car is built. I just want to know that they're building it correctly, so you don't end up with issues like what is happening now.
Yeah.
I mean, call me crazy.
Yeah. No, I want a car where the drivetrain doesn't, fall apart. But
I mean, I feel like I might be asking too
much. At least
but...
under warranty, so long as it's still under warranty.
Yeah.
I unfortunately think we've passed the era of affordability. I mean, what are they talking about now? The average new car, the new MSRP is over 50,000 on average, and then you what do they call it? ATP, actual transaction price, is in, for new cars, is in the high 40s. So that is the new, the I don't know where Porsche could be much below where it's at now, because that 90 is the new 40 or 50. You know what I mean? Going back 30 years, right. And so it's just nothing's getting cheaper, and we're not going to get into politics and inflation and all the rest of it. But I don't know that there's no room, because when you can go buy a Camry or something that it's $50,000, I mean, ID Buzz is a perfect example, right? Interesting car. I think a lot of people like it, at least here in California. Everybody turns their head when they see one, and we can argue about the range anxiety, but the moment they see it's $70,000. They're like, and they haven't sold. I mean, they're sitting on. They're literally not going to build an ID Buzz for all of 2026 because they have too many to sell. So, for Porsche to try and move down, I don't want to say down market, but quote unquote more affordable. I don't know if there's. I don't think there's as much space there as we think there is, because they're just not. You're buying $50,000-$60,000 Camrys.
That's it. And what's in it for Porsche? Because, everything I hear from my sources say that Porsche really wants to align themselves more with Ferrari, right? As far as price points and all that. So that
Ferrari's got the best margin. Yeah, I think Ferrari's margins are, I shit you not, something like 30%, I mean, they have to report it on there. At least their gross margins are on their annual, their quarterly reports, and their margins are like you're lucky if Ford, GM, and most car companies are in high single digit, low double digit margins. Ferrari's the envy of the world at like 20 or whatever it is, 20-30%. You can go and look at their 10K or whatever, but you just can't. Unfortunately, there's just no room, which is a larger economic issue. But would we all love something that was more obtainable? And Lindsay, to your great point of aspirational, but still feel achievable as the aspiration, rather than it just be another thing you see a poster on a wall or someone else driving, or you watch a YouTube video, and unfortunately some people feel like they'll never get there, and that's I hope we can get out of that mindset.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, I'm not really craving a modern day 924, even necessarily 914. So and that bombshell,
a 914.6 is a hell of a lot of fun.
No, I know. Well, I've never driven one. I'm sure they are amazing.
They're a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, it's built like a Volkswagen, but people are. What are those Myers Minx? Is they're spending big money on a Myers Minx. I'd rather have a 914.6 personally.
Well,
but
you should get a 1511, which is the sort of singerized 914.
I have not seen those.
I think is going to be the next big thing. Check it out, 1511 out of the UK. They're done to the level of a single.
What's the number on those?
914 in it.
100?
5.
Like 2. Ha!
Yeah. But when a Singer now is $1.5 million to start or more, right?
Yeah, that's a bargain.
To seem like the value play. So anyway, but all right, we better end this before we just keep going for another hour and a half. But this was fun. Appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate all the feedback and all that.
And give us your comments. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you think we got wrong, or what cars we're missing, and more importantly, what part of the BS list should be on everybody's radar for 26. Buy them first before you tell us.
I think this is the first of this will be the first of many. This will be something we'll all look forward to, right, in the years to come. Michael, it's always a pleasure to have you sit in.
Thank you for the pleasure.
Dan, I hope you're having a great time in Scottsdale. Lindsay, it's been fun tonight.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to please tell your friends, make sure that you leave a review, a comment if you can. It means the world to us and lets us know that you're listening. And until next time, we are That Car Show, Lindsay.
And remember, always be driving.
Thanks, everyone.